Inside this box, I have an engineering sample, an early unit of the successor to the wildly successful crowdfunded GPD Pocket. It's nice to have a crowdfunding campaign work out once in a while, isn't it? So this right here is a full-fledged quad-core PC that, per the name, fits in your pocket. Or at least in my pocket. I have pretty big pockets. It's not about the size of the pockets, it's about the man who wears the pocket. It doesn't matter. Anyway, the point is they've made a bunch of changes, both in terms of ergonomics and performance, and we are going to take a look at it after I tell you about our sponsor, Origin PC. Origin PC's Evo 15S is only 4.3 pounds, features a 144Hz 1080p display and a GeForce GTX 1070 Max-Q. Learn more about it and Origin's other PCs at the link in the video description. Now, the big message from GPD's reviewer's guide materials was really one about performance, because we're going from Atom cores to actual full-fledged laptop cores in the Pocket 2. Now, we only get 2 of them, but I'm still expecting performance to be dramatically better because Atom cores are dog slow. But even with that said, my main problem with the original Pocket wasn't actually the performance. It was really the usability of the device, starting with I/O. Oh, are both of these dead? Gosh darn it. I will say this, performance-wise, I mean, based on how much further along we are in the setup process here, you can see that it definitely makes a difference, even if it wasn't something that had stood out to me at the time. So here, let's run through the physical changes while I wait for some stuff to install here. So we've got USB Type-C for charging on the right. That's the same as before. We've got a USB Type-A for whatever it is that you could want to plug into it. That's the same as before. But while last time we had our headphone jack as well as a micro HDMI on the right side, now we turn it over to the other side and we've got no micro HDMI, although honestly, given that we live in the dongle age now, thank you Apple for that, that doesn't bother me. Micro HDMI is a super fragile connector, and I would much rather have this. So we've got another full-size Type-A and our headphone jack over on the other side, along with a micro SD slot. So if you've got one of those amazing little high-capacity micro SD cards, like I will hopefully be able to find extremely quickly here, then you can add up to 512 gigs of storage to this thing on top of the 128 gigs that it already comes with. Because it should be SDXC. Is that gonna work? Scissors. There we go. That's probably just a tooling issue on the early units here. So speaking of tooling, actually, this is a unibody construction here. So you can see this is a single piece of aluminum all along the top here, and then they're just putting a bottom cover on it. The other big change from a usability perspective is the keyboard and mouse. Now, okay, my initial reaction was that I was pretty upset that they had done away with the nipple mouse, because while the nipple mouse isn't my favorite, it's sort of making the best of a bad situation where you've got very little space to work with. And once you get good with it, you can get pretty good. And what they replaced it with is this little, what it is, okay, you know, normally the way a mouse works is you've got an optical sensor in it and then you move it around on a surface. The way this works is they've got a stationary optical sensor under this little square right here, and then you move a textured surface, which I guess would be your finger in this case, over top of it. So what you end up doing is you end up needing quite a few motions in order to move all the way across the screen. Now, what I also couldn't figure out at first was how to drag things, because initially I thought as soon as I run out of finger runway, that's as far as I can drag things, because when you go to the edge, it doesn't keep going like it would on a trackpad or on a nipple. But fortunately, they actually did think of this. If you use your thumb A, it doesn't require quite as many swipes just because you've got a larger surface here. And B, you've actually got left and right clicks here that are built into the top left corner of the device. So if you can click and you can drag something to your heart's content, just like that. So you end up with this kind of like game controller style ergonomics to it that works really well, especially when you consider how much better of a keyboard experience you're getting. This drove me nuts. The fact that here, like look at this from an angle here. The fact that this space bar was so hard to press without interfering with the left click or bumping your thumb on the bottom of the chassis here. So it's pretty short, which means it's not natural to hit with your left thumb. You gotta kind of reach for it, all right? Period and question mark are in very unusual locations. I do appreciate the full-size arrow keys this time around. You can kind of see some of the gaming DNA of GPD. It's actually short for Gamepad Digital. With that, some games do like a nice full-sized arrow key, so I'm glad to see that. But the one huge sin that I wish they had changed is I wish it had 2 shift keys. With that said, compared to these key clusters like this and putting stuff like this over here, this is something that I could at least eventually get used to. They've done away with useless stuff like caps lock, stuff you really don't need on a highly mobile experience like this one. Now I want to take a look at performance. So now they don't intend for this to be a gaming machine, but of course we're going to try it. So while we wait for that to load up though, let's talk about what we might expect and what kind of specs there are in here, because it wasn't that long ago that it wasn't even realistic to build an entire computer in this kind of a form factor at all. And we've gone from there to now, this guy actually having very similar specs to the new Microsoft Surface Go. All right, so this gives us a good look at things in here. So right there, that's our Core M3 7Y30 CPU. So that's dual cores at 1 to 2 gigahertz and change. But what's important about those cores is that those are actually Haswell cores. So this is the same type of cores that gets used in a normal notebook or even a desktop machine, 7th gen cores. Then, right next to it here, we've got 4 gigs of RAM, although it's available with up to 8 gigs. Then we've got 128 gigs of storage. I'm pretty sure that's that. Then we've got a cooling fan here that's just got a single radiator and a single heat pipe right there. And then we've got a pretty decent size 3400 milliamp hour battery, and that's pretty much it for the internals. I guess I never mentioned, right, this is an HIPS 1280, did I say 1280? Sorry, I mean 1900 by 1200 display. Pretty darn good. What are these frame rates like? So we're running at 1280 by 720. Low in Tomb Raider, but given that no one probably expected to be running AAA games, even older ones, on a machine like this, I would actually say I'd call this like probably 10 to 15 FPS that we're getting right now is pretty darn impressive. I mean, you'll be able to easily play games like, old retro games like Age of Empires 2 HD or whatever the case may be on something like this. Now this is cool. So the fan can actually make, I'd say, a fair bit of noise. It's definitely audible. But what's neat is that if you want it to not turbo up, they've actually got a dedicated button to turn the fan off and go into a low power silent mode. Although I wouldn't expect to be running any games with it like that. Got it. Got it. Where's the enter? Ah!
Shut up!
All right, so to have a look at the performance improvements, we've got the original Pocket, we've got the Pocket 2, and then for the sake of completeness, we've got the Pentium 4415Y equipped Surface Go. Higher base clock, but no boost. So the problem is that, especially with these low power machines, it's hard to find a chance to benchmark them, because this one's got 60% of its CPU being sucked up by DISM host servicing process, desktop anti-malware service executable, just like random Windows crap that's running in the background. 80%, 87! Microsoft, this is your computer. Why you do this, 90%? So for our Cinebench run, we've got the original Pocket, the Pocket 2, with the M7Y30 CPU, and then we've got the Pentium 4415Y in the Surface Go. So let's go ahead and start them all. Oh yeah, I guess they all have touchscreens, so I could just boop, boop, boop. Oh, that one's started. Wait, what is going on here? Oh wow, that one took that long just to start. So you'll notice here that it's still got 4 boxes. That's because this is a hyper-threaded processor. And it is just creaming 4 true cores over here. So Turbo Boost is giving us a clear advantage. Even though its base clock is lower, it's turboing up higher than the Surface Go. Oh, it also has a lot more level 3 cache. 4 megs versus 2 megs. So the performance story is looking pretty good here. At 177, I mean, that's still not earth-shattering performance. This is still slower than like a Core 2 Quad Q6600 from literally 10 years ago. But that's 10% faster than the Surface Go at 160, and whatever that works out to, a lot faster than 120 for the old Pocket. And the remarkable thing is that, yeah, even though it's slower than a desktop CPU from 10 years ago, that's a desktop CPU. This literally fits in your pocket. Oh, it should be noted, they're changing some of the buttons though. So this is gonna be tab, and these, they're all kind of moving around. It's for the better though, it's for the better.
And now Linus will watch his favorite YouTuber, Linus.
Purely by how many views something gets on YouTube. Because the usability of that thing? The speakers on this thing, not amazing. And I use the term speakers loosely because there's only one, and it actually fires up through the holes around the keys. So it doesn't sound that great. But we can play back 1080p videos and only suck back about 11 to 13% of the CPU. That is not too shabby. Max screen brightness is not bad either. Like, I wouldn't want to be watching in direct sunlight or anything, but it's very comfortable even under direct overhead lighting here. You know what? All this talk of decent performance actually gets me thinking. While GPD, according to their marketing anyway, might envision their user as like, you know, dainty ladies in coffee shops, I see it as more of like a power user on the go, where you might want to have the flexibility to either have something super portable, albeit with limited functionality, or the ability to use the device as like a mobile, almost desktop experience. So let's try that. We've got a Type-C dongle with a power in on the one side here. We've got now wired Ethernet. And let's get Photoshop installed and see how usable this is.
The world-renowned Photoshop expert Edsel was called to work on a rare one-of-a-kind Linus Tech Tips thumbnail.
Hold on, I think I still have silent mode on. Oh, okay, well hold on.
Was it slow?
Yeah,
Is that?
yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so like every time I select a thing, it does the waiting thing.
Oh,
I don't think I've ever had that happen before.
okay.
Not like, is the RAM? Might be the RAM.
Yeah, we've only got 4 gigs. There is an 8 gig model though.
Oh, pixel art. That's amazing.
Okay, so summary then.
I think it's not a great system to use on its own, like if you have other options.
Yeah.
But this actually reminds me of that time when you asked me to edit a thumbnail and all I had was my phone, and I remoted in and edited a thumbnail on my phone.
Right. This would be better than that.
This would be way better than dinking around on my phone.
Okay, all right. So it's not perfect, and there are definitely still some compromises that you're making when you have a machine that is small enough to fit in your pocket, but for the price that they're asking, which is actually really similar to the Surface Go, for more performance and a keyboard that, again, isn't perfect, but is included, it looks pretty darn good, and I think they're gonna have another successful crowdfunding campaign on their hands here. Speaking of successful, private internet access is the way to be successfully protected on the internet. PIA has clients available for Windows, Mac, Linux, Chrome. They've got like More coming in the future, and it's the VPN that hides your true identity behind a protected fake IP address, allowing you to get behind censorship and enjoy content that is otherwise going to be geo-blocked, like if you want to watch the BBC from somewhere else. You can even use a VPN like PIA to save money on flights. You can check out the video that we're going to have coming about that very, very soon. And if you want to hook yourself up with PIA today, check them out at the link in the video description. They've got over 1,000 servers in 28 countries, giving them fantastic coverage, regardless of where you want to appear as though you are using the internet from. So thanks for watching, guys. If you disliked this video, you can hit that button. But if you liked it, hit like, get subscribed, or maybe consider checking out where to buy the stuff we featured at the link below. Also down there is our merch store, which has cool shirts like this one, and our community forum, which you should totally join.